Hey everybody, welcome to the very first episode of Last Ninja Nerd, and I'm gonna go ahead and make a bold statement. This new Zelda game, Tears of the Kingdom, is just the best game of all time. This game is not just Game of the Year material, it's just hands down the best game of all time. Obviously, if you're not a Zelda fan or into open world RPGs, this might not apply to you, but if you do like this sort of game, this is the game to look into, and this is the game to fork your money out for. In this video I'm gonna explain to you why I think this is the best game ever, and this is also an attempt to convince the people who aren't playing Zelda yet to give it a try. Alright, so first off, this game was announced back in 2019. Almost 4 years ago. That's a long time, you know. If you're waiting for a game, 4 years is a long time, you know. Eventually I was like, man, I might not even live to see the day, because you know this guy is getting a bit older, right?
How old are you?
Let's just say I was old enough to not play the first Zelda game in 1986 in diapers, but I'm also not old enough to play the game in diapers now. So if that's any indication, when I first started playing Zelda, it was like there was Zelda Link to the Past on the Super Nintendo, and I was sold, you know. I mean, I'd seen the commercial on TV for the Super Nintendo game, but prior to that, I never even heard of Zelda. I mean, I didn't even know the NES existed, right? I was playing the Commodore 64, and the Nintendo Game Boy was the first console that I actually got my hands on and knew about, right? So when I played Zelda on the Super Nintendo, I was just hooked, right? I had to buy that console, I had to buy that game. And eventually, a little while later, it came out on the Game Boy. There was Link's Awakening, right? And that was just great, you know. It was 8-bit. It was not as good as Super Nintendo version, obviously a bit smaller, but it had that same charm, right? That discovery, that kid going on an adventure. But I digress. Going back to Elden Ring, I think this game, it might have delayed the Zelda game a bit, because this game, it just blew everybody out of the water, right? It was Dark Souls meets Skyrim. It was just insane, right? Dark Souls, it's a great series. It's one of the few games that I like to play. You know, I bought an Xbox because I wanted to play Dark Souls 2 and 3. And they just refused to release them on the Switch. I waited 2 years for those games to come out after I played the first one, and you know they never released it on the Switch, and so I was forced into the Xbox. And Elden Ring, man, it was crazy, right? Just the sheer size of that game, that world, it's great, you know. And I like to think that this game, it pushed Nintendo to expand on this current Zelda game. It might have been ready to release, and then they saw that game and they were like, nah, we gotta expand this. We're gonna look bad if we release it now. So if that's the case, I would like to say thank you to From Software. If not, well, who cares anyway, right? But I mean, it was one of the things that I thought delayed the game, and I was fearful that Zelda, it was gonna suck. I didn't really like what they released, which was basically nothing except for a few trailers. And what I saw, especially the later ones, when you had to like merge stuff, I was like, ah man, it's not for me, you know. It's too much, you know. I just want to play a game. I don't want to go through this learning curve, and you know. But fair enough, that was not too bad. And actually, one of the things that I didn't like about Elden Ring is that you kind of get lost into the game, right? You sent somewhere and maybe you cannot find it, and eventually you get distracted and you get lost, and you kind of like, what am I doing here, right? And then you have to go back and forth, or you get into these bits of the game and kind of like, where am I supposed to go next, right? And it's just, you know, it's a bit complicated, I think, when it comes to the plot line, right? And I had to like go online and, you know, look for a lot of answers, because I was just, you know, stuck in the middle of nowhere, and just, what am I supposed to, did I finish the game? Didn't finish the game? Same for Dark Souls. Suddenly you finish the game, but at least it was obvious that you finished the game. But with Elden Ring, at one point I was like, okay, I think I finished the game. Clearly I didn't, but it felt like that, and there was nothing left for me to discover, as far as I know. Then there were a few unanswered questions, like this mountain with the village on the top on the map. Like, how am I supposed to get there? And I never managed, and Then I look online and I see all these things, and you're like, oh man, never mind. This is one clear example that I really like about the Zelda game, right? Sometimes they go too much into explaining what you need to do, and they repeat it over and over again, and that becomes a bit of an hassle. You kind of want to talk to everybody because you want to really enjoy the game, but you get like 3 to 4 NPCs that kind of remind you of the same thing, and it's not perfect, but I think it's a little better than Elden Ring. At least you can choose not to speak to everybody, right? But with Elden Ring you kind of had to like find people, which is already quite a chore, and then hope they would like say something that would help you advance in the game. Zelda is a bit easier on that part, I think. It kind of feels like with Zelda you're not gonna miss out on anything of the story, whereas with Elden Ring you might miss out on chunks. Like you get this wolf boy in the forest somewhere, which I never knew about, and unless you read about how to meet him, you probably never will, right? And there's more examples, and you do something and then it's irreversible, right? It's done and you missed out, and if you don't know, it's not a big deal. But I like to enjoy the full game, right? And I think Zelda is more of an opportunity. You can basically do everything. As far as I know, you're not going to miss out on anything. Now, on the expansion of Tears of the Kingdom, when I was playing Breath of the Wild, which of course I really liked, I played for like almost 400 hours. What I really liked about the game was, of course, the map. It was large, right? And it seemed to draw some inspiration from Skyrim, which I think was a really good game as well. But when I played that game, I was kind of like, what if there were a world underneath the water? Because in the past with these Zelda games, you can actually sink, right? You get these metal shoes, these metal boots, and you find some pellets under the water, or at least you can walk on the water. And that mechanic was completely gone from Breath of the Wild. But if you see the amount of lakes and of course the ocean, there was a huge opportunity to expand on that. I was expecting there to be like an expansion, so that would open up those areas. That never came, but I think as far as I know, the new game doesn't have that either, but it has something better, right? You can go all the way up into the sky, I would say almost the heavens. And there's all these bits that you can discover now as well. What's more, games like Skyrim and Elden Ring, they have these caves, right? And caves, they are just like a big thing when it comes to discovering worlds, right? That was also missing from the Zelda game. In the Super Nintendo version, for example, you had some caves. Obviously, there was a small world, but in Breath of the Wild, there are virtually no caves, and caves they make for true exploration, right? And I'm very happy that this game has a lot of caves, right? And like Skyrim and Elden Ring, they put markers on the map now, right? And I mean, it's just Breath of the Wild, and much better this time. For me, one of the reasons why I like to play games like these is just the discovering areas, right? And I'm not so much stressing about the mainline story and following up on things. And I just like to search an area, slow down, catch some insects, maybe some flowers, some fish. Hopefully stumble across something that holds a treasure. Maybe a hole in the ground, because that's another thing now, right? With this game, they drew inspiration from Skyrim with this underground world. Elden Ring has one as well, of course, but I noticed it in Skyrim first. But where in Skyrim you kind of like, what am I supposed to do? It's so empty. It's just deserted, right? There's nothing here. It's a bit similar in Tears of the Kingdom, but at least there's a lot of foes, right? A lot of stuff to discover. And in Skyrim, it was just, it was a nice place, but it was a bit empty and just lonesome. And obviously that could work well, but it gets a little boring, And with this new game, Tears of the Kingdom, there's much more to discover, right? You get all these extra things that you can look for. The power-ups, these stone slabs, these statues, um, areas that you can light up. It's pitch dark, right? And so you can use like these arrows that you put some fruit on just to light up some areas. Most foes, they're easy to defeat, but I run into these hands that they just kill you like it's nothing, right? So I'm not there yet to find out how to defeat them. I'm sure I will later, but yeah, man, that underground world, it's really something, right? And it's huge. I think I just saw a small part, right? I'm 4 days basically into playing the game. I was kind of busy. I would have loved to do this review earlier. I don't have that many hours in there yet, but man, it's very very promising, right? And this really gives me good hope for the future of the franchise. Now, as I mentioned before, I'm a Zelda fan, right? The franchise is one that I can always get back to. Obviously, when I play these older games, I don't enjoy them as much, right? I mean, when I first played the Twilight Princess, I was like, man, this art style, the atmosphere is great. It's just, it doesn't get much better than that. Obviously, I was wrong, right? It was a long time ago. Skyward Sword, I liked it, not to the same extent as Twilight Princess, but it was good. Now, going back to these games after Breath of the Wild and especially Tears of the Kingdom, they're not that much fun anymore, right? But I mean, back when they came out, they were great. You get this story, this plotline that reinvents itself all this time, right? And it's just great to see all these things come back every time again in like a new version of themselves, right? And these races, different races that are introduced and come back, and they evolve, and it's great. I do feel like with Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, you really try to delay the end, right? Whereas with the older games, you kind of like you get this item, you go to the next part, right? You get this item from this dungeon. Now you can climb this wall, for example, and you just wanted to like complete your missions and play through it and finish the game. With Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, you kind of like wanna delay it as much as you can, right? I'm not the only one. I have one sister who is also really into the Zelda games, especially Breath of the Wild. She only finished it like 2 months ago, started playing it like a year ago, and good on her, she really enjoyed it for a very, very long time. Me, I just, I finished a little bit faster. I think I took like 2 months, and then I kind of like did everything. I found like all these temples. So I had to go and go take care of Ganondorf, right? Of Calamity Ganon in this case. I did, and yeah, it was too bad. I'm like, man, just give me this new Zelda game. When is it coming out? And the day is here. It's finally here, and this guy, he's happy. Games like this is therapy. Like whereas with Elden Ring and Dark Souls, they're kind of tense, right? And they can get kind of stressful, and sometimes you want to rage quit with some of these bosses. But Tears of the Kingdom, you just relax, right? You just you almost enjoy the view, right? You listen to the atmospheric sounds of the music, and you just look around. Where shall I go next? And there's no rush, right? And to be fair, the first day I kind of tried to rush through it because I wanted to do this review. But I'm like, man, it's not worth it, right? This game, just, enjoy it, take your time, It's therapy, you calm down, and maybe you had a rough day at work, you forget all about it playing a game like this, it's freedom, you wanted your world to be like this. Now, I don't know where you guys live, but where I live, you walk outside, it's not like you can like go to some mountain or pass some river or walk into a forest. I mean, this is a pretty boring industrial place to live. There's not much here. So playing a game like Tears of the Kingdom and Breath of the Wild and Elden Ring, man, that's just pure therapy, man. I'm telling you. One more time, I like games like Skyrim and Dark Souls, and I liked Skyrim. I play Resident Evil 4 and Resident Evil Revelations. Other than that, take the Zelda games. Anything else is not me. You know, I'll be honest. A fair exception is Metroid. The latest Metroid game. No, not the latest. The one before that. Metroid Dread, it was called, right? That was good. That was good. You know, but it's not something that I look forward to. You know, I like counting the days until the next release. Whereas with these role-playing games, I do, right? What I'm kind of trying to tell you here is that if this is your kind of game, open world role-playing game, this game is for you. You know, for me, I don't care much for like Mario or Mario Kart, and I mean I bought Mario Kart 8 on the Switch, right? Because it's the right thing to do, but maybe I played it for like 2 hours, you know, and I just bought it so I can play with some friends sometimes, but you know, they all kick my ass because they went through the learning curve, they know the tricks, and they like racing, and I don't know what. But for me, it's just boring, you know. It's fun, play it once or twice, that's it. It's kind of the same thing with Super Mario, right? I mean, I bought Super Mario World back on the Super Nintendo, and I bought Mario 64 with the Nintendo 64, obviously, but I just lost interest after that Nintendo 64 game, man. And I tried it on the Wii. I couldn't get invested. I borrowed it on the Switch, and fair enough, it was fun for one playthrough. But I just felt like that game was kind of small, right? And I don't want to, you know, retry a level to make it perfect and find every star and I don't know what. And it's not for me, you know. Also, sports games. I used to like Winning 11, right? Or Pro Evolution Soccer. I don't know what it's called these days, but you know. Nowadays, I don't enjoy them anymore, right? I mean, sure, once in a while I'll play it with a friend, but playing it against the computer, it's just, it's boring, man. And it kind of goes for all these games. What I'm trying to tell you is that I'm a very, very selective gamer, right? If it's not a perfect game, if it's just not top of the line, it's not for me, right? The sales, I just heard that this new game is like the fastest selling game of all time. I don't know if it's true, right? I haven't checked the facts yet. I know that Elden Ring sold pretty amazingly as well. So I'll look into it, but I think it's safe to say that this game, you know, everyone picks it up, right? It's a huge success after Breath of the Wild. You know, I got this friend in Sweden even. He would ask me about it because he told me he liked Breath of the Wild. He never played those kind of games before, but he said he thought Breath of the Wild was sick, so he's looking into it, and he asked me how it was. I told him, "Watch my video, man." You know, and you already know the answer. Word of warning though, if you like The Witcher, The Witcher 3, then this might not be the game for you, right? Because you actually have to play it. It's not just watching some scenes and, you know, watching a digitized novel, right? I mean, that game is an open world RPG, but, you know, to me, it's not as good as Skyrim or Elden Ring or, you know, any of those games. That's another discussion, of course. But if you're the kind of guy that likes The Witcher, but not Elden Ring, then this game might not be for you either. If anyone else, you know, fork out your money, man. Go to the shop, buy it. You know, get the physical version. I think it's always a better option than a digital version. But hey, man, that's up to you. You know, just as long as you get it. You know, show Nintendo that they need to continue with this new approach to the Zelda games, right? Man, I'm even willing to buy a new console for the next one. I was very happy that they didn't force us to do this, right? Because with Breath of the Wild, you know, yeah, sure, you can play it on the Wii U, but nobody owned that console. I was never enticed to buy one. But they basically said, yeah, man, it runs on the Wii U, but if you want to like really play it, you need to get this new console, man, the Nintendo Switch. Fair enough, you know. It's the reason why I bought the console. The games make me buy the consoles, right? I bought these consoles for Zelda. That goes for the Nintendo 64. That goes for the GameCube. It goes for the Wii, and it goes for the Switch right now. And again, if the next Zelda, if they need you to get a new console, here's my money, man. You know, two just world-class games on the Switch, two world-class original open-world Zelda games. That's all you can ask for a console. I don't think they're gonna make a third one that will run on the Switch smoothly. and that's fine. No, but don't make me wait another like 6 years, 7 years, man. I think it's like an average of like 5 years. Stick to that, maybe bring it down to 3 years. Maybe put in some new elements, new approach. Maybe, switch the looks up again, like the Twilight Princess. That art style was amazing. I liked the Wind Waker. It was refreshing, but it's fun for one time, right? But it looks a little cartoony. That's fine, But the Twilight Princess, that art style, that was still my favorite art style for Zelda of all time. So here's hoping to continuing with that style for the next iteration. Make it darker, right? Make it look a little bit creepy, maybe. Mystery, it's already here, right? But try to make it more creepy. Not as creepy as Skyrim, Elden Ring might feel sometimes, but give it like this more realistic look for the next game, maybe. Of course, obviously, those art styles that they use, they're perfect, man. They're great, and I love it. But for the next one, maybe make it look different, right? I think you can already kind of feel like sometimes like you're playing Breath of the Wild over again. Obviously, the world is different. There are more characters. It's larger, as far as I can tell. But it does feel like you're playing this game over again, right? And that works for now. But for the next one, maybe try something else. At least for the look of it, right? So I think this is about it for now. Although there's one more thing I would like to point out. Breath of the Wild, yeah, all these subtle elements, right? That really showed you that they love their games, And Breath of the Wild, I'm sorry, I mean Tears of the Kingdom. What it does now, right? You get like these things like Link whenever he cooks food, he waits for his food, and he hums these songs from past games. You recognize tunes from like. Link's Awakening, for example, and man, this feels like it's come full circle, right? This game should have been released with the anniversary. We just got some crappy pocket game system. No one really cares, I think. This game it should have come out back then, right? Because it really hits the nail on the head. So again, that's it for my first video. Thanks for mostly listening, because the copyright, of course, I wasn't able to show that much. But thanks for listening, and I hope to see you in my next video, man. No, I'm not going to tell you what it's about. It's going to be good. Just see if you can manage to find some time for my next video as well. All right, man. Talk to you later. I'm out. Bye.